It is the greatest rivalry in Australian automotive history, the classic Ford versus Holden battle. The blue team versus the red team. And while it's all good and well to get excited about the sports models, the image cars that most people want to own, today we're going to look at the fleet cars, the entry-level vehicles that most people actually do own. So, which team should you join? Should you go the blue? Or the red? Gotta be honest, they don't taste that different, which is probably what most people think about the cars. Falcon and Commodore, very similar, but I'm tipping beneath the skin, it's a very different story. But of course, the big part of any Ford versus Holden battle is under the bonnet. Now, Holden's got a 180 kilowatt, 3.6 litre V6. It's mated to a standard 4-speed automatic transmission. Ford, on the other hand, has a 4-litre inline 6-cylinder engine, so it's got more grunt, 195 kilowatts, and it's also got an extra gear ratio, a 5-speed automatic. Now, bragging rights is one thing, but the big question with these engines is which has more bite, the blue or the red? Underpowered. When you squeeze the throttle, it gets on with it, it's got a reasonable amount of grunt. The problem is it's just not as lively as it could be, and things end up being a bigger moment. Because you've only got 4 gears with the transmission, you sort of got to squeeze the throttle a lot more than you normally would. And sometimes you wish you just had a little bit more and it was a little bit easier to access. The Ford, on the other hand, you don't need to squeeze the accelerator nearly as hard. A tiny, gentle touch, and it just sort of goes. It's got so much mid-range torque, so much muscle. It's so much more effortless, so much easier to drive, particularly around town. And on a freeway, it's so easy. Hit the cruise control, not many hills are going to slow it down. The other thing you notice with the Ford, because that engine has more grunt and because the transmission has more ratios, better spaced, the transmission just doesn't work nearly as hard. It picks a gear and pretty much sticks to it. To drive, the Commodore wins back some early points. It feels really planted on the road, really comfortable around corners and a reasonable amount of grip. For a car that's $35,000, it's pretty good. And of course you get rear wheel drive, so it's got that nice rear drive feel. The suspension tends towards firmish, but in a way it sort of gives you a little bit more reassurance of what's going on down at ground level. As for comfort, Ford has definitely gone a step in that direction. It just rides a little bit better, feels a little bit quieter, again a little bit more relaxed. A bit like the engine, really. Ford has also done a lot of work to make sure the Falcon is a lot more composed and a little bit sportier when it comes to driving dynamics. The steering's more progressive and gives you a little bit more feel and feedback. And through corners, well, the Falcon's also a pretty handy machine. The Falcon also has better vision and better visibility. There's bigger mirrors, so you see a lot more of what's going on behind you. And these A-pillars, which are really big and annoying in the Holden, not nearly as bad in the Ford. Well, I wouldn't say they're brilliant. But something that is more important than ever these days is how a car looks. And I reckon Holden has absolutely nailed it. They've got the proportions just right on the Commodore. Perhaps the main criticism I've got with this Omega entry-level model is it just looks a little bit bland. It feels a little bit entry-level. The wheels don't quite fill those big muscular wheel arches, and there's a little too much black plastic and lack of detail, basically. The biggest problem with the look of the Falcon is that it's not changed enough from the old one. You know, every panel's different on this car. There's not a single piece of metal that's the same as the last one. But for some people, they'll never know it. Well, I've got to be honest, when you do see it in the metal, the Falcon does look different to the old one, and park them next to each other and anyone will pick the difference. And with the entry-level XT model now, well, you stand out like a beacon. You see, Ford has given this car a unique nose. The base model now looks and feels like a base model. It's a tiny bit disappointing for a car that otherwise has so many good points.
Now, of course, one of the big things with Falcons and Commodores is what they're like inside. For me, the Commodore, it's a little bit bland, but there are plenty of cubby holes, plenty of space. And in the back, man, this is huge. It's cavernous. You could spend a long drive here without a problem. Really comfy back seats, great way to travel. Now, the Falcon, on the other hand, well, it doesn't feel like I've got quite as much room. My head's just starting to graze the roof, and the seats, they're not quite as luxurious. They don't come up quite as high. But the attention to detail is a lot better. Little touches like metal finishes on the door handles, the seat trim, and up front, the centre console, it's a lot better laid out, a lot more cohesive. So, where does that leave us? Well, the Commodore's still a great car, looks fantastic, but the Ford, well, it is a better car overall. The interior is just more functional, more upmarket, more intuitive. The engine and transmission, heaps more grunt, much easier to drive. And the safety, well, it's a step ahead, although we do recommend you get the extra curtain airbags. They're only another $300 and they could save your life. So I guess there's no prizes for guessing. I'm joining the blue team. What I need to know, what other blue stuff do you reckon I can get in there?